Some work 60 now, that's a 10 hours. He spent my AC again, last 4 hours.
Good evening, everyone. It's 6:30. May I have a few preliminary matters? As a preliminary matter, this is Zoe Burgess, your city clerk. This meeting will be held with a quorum of city council members physically present in attendance at the Westlake Council Chambers, 4005 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road, Westlake, Florida 33470. Mayor Roger Manning, Councilman Patrick Paul, Councilman John Paul O'Connor are present physically. Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson is attending via communications media technology. And if I may have Vice Mayor, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me, Zoe? I can hear you.
I can hear you now. Councilwoman Kara Crump is absent. City Attorney Pam Booker and City Manager Kenneth Castle are physically in attendance. City Clerk Zoe Burgess is attending via communications media technology. Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Planning and Zoning Director Nilsa Zacharias.
Yes, I'm attending via WebEx.
Thank you. Anticipated speakers and presenters on tonight's agenda, respond in the affirmative. Mr. Donaldson Hearing of Cutler Hearing, are you able to hear us?
I am able to hear you. Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you. Ms. Wendy Sartori Link, Palm Beach County Supervisor of Elections, are you on the line and able to hear us? Supervisor of Elections Link, are you able to hear us? I do not see Supervisor of Elections on the line. I will give her a moment, but I will continue with my preliminary comments. If you've joined us by telephone, please mute your device. I repeat, if you are attending by telephone, please mute your device. Public comments are accepted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting, utilizing the electronic comment card available on the city's website. Public comments are also permitted at the appropriate time during the meeting. The mayor will call for such during public comment, both in the beginning and end of the meeting, as well as the public hearing section of the agenda. You may also participate at this time utilizing the system's virtual hand feature and waiting to be acknowledged if you wish to comment. Please note this meeting is recorded both voice and video, and to remember your mic may be live. I will mute any microphones that carry on feedback or interruption. However, you have the ability to unmute yourself. Any person in the virtual meeting causing a disruption or being inappropriate will be removed from the meeting. If you have logged on using a telephone, please mute your device. As a reminder, council members that are present, please utilize your microphones for audio quality. Thank you, Mayor Manning.
Thank you, Zoe. I'd like to call to order the City of Westlake's regular council meeting Monday, August 10th, 2020 at 6:34 p.m. Roll call, please.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Present.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Present.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Present.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it's one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, everyone has the agenda for this evening. Do we have any additions, deletions, or modifications? If we show none, we have a motion for approval.
A motion for tonight's agenda.
Speak up a little louder.
Speak right into the
Closer to
mic
your
for
mic,
Zoe.
please.
Can get.
That's fine. I'll make a motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Second.
I have a motion by John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Mayor Roger Manning,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson,
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul,
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we have public comments and requests. This section of the agenda allows for comments from the public to speak on any item not present on the agenda. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment. A public comment card should be completed and returned to the city clerk. When you are called to speak, please go to the podium, or to your speaker, microphone, and prior to addressing the council, state your name, address for the record.
Mayor, I received no additional comments prior to the meeting. However, we'll give a moment for those attending virtually for a comment. You may raise your virtual hand.
Hi, Zoe.
Yes.
Hi, this is Alicia Torres. I'm at 5847 Whippoorwill Circle.
Thank you, Ms. Torres.
I just wanted to point out quickly that the budget workshop scheduled for next Tuesday is the same day as the general primary election. I don't know if that creates some kind of issue.
It's not for me.
Workshops in the evening, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's a 6:30 workshop.
No
Okay.
conflicts.
Okay,
No comment, as far as I'm
No
concerned.
conflict with the council.
okay.
Do we have
Are there
any
any-
comments?
I'm sorry, Mayor. Are there any
No.
additional comments? If you're utilizing a telephone device, you may please proceed in speaking. Please state your name and your address. Mayor, I see no additional virtual hands. You may continue.
Thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. This section of the agenda consists of routine or administrative items that require final approval by the city council and may be approved in its entirety by a single motion. There will be no discussion of these items unless a city council member requests such, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered on future agenda. We have two items: approval of the meeting minute for May 11th, 2020. That was a regular council meeting minutes, and approval of finance statement for June 2020. Do we have any discussion from the council regarding these two items? Show no discussion on those two items, so if we have a motion, we can proceed.
Councilman, I'll second.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you. I have a motion by Councilman Patrick Paul, seconded by Councilman John Paul O'Connor. Roll call. Mayor Roger Manning,
Approved.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson,
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul,
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Thank you.
I do have to comment, I should, related, I see in here. My agenda, my minutes says draft on it. The one I downloaded in the,
Yes, Mayor, they're considered a draft until it's approved by council.
In case there's changes or corrections.
okay. I just never seen it that way before, that's why I questioned. Okay, thank you.
It means you actually looked at it carefully.
I tried. It's my job. Presentations and proclamations. We should have a presentation by Wendy Satori, Lake Palm Beach County Supervisor of election, if she may.
Billy, yes, you can have it.
Madam
No.
Supervisor of Elections, are you on the line? Or is it a representative for Ms. Link? Mayor, I do not believe she is on the line with us this evening.
Okay,
If I see her return, I will let you know.
very good, thank you. If she comes on, we'll try to work her in.
We need a motion to table.
Let's wait until we get further along the agenda and see if she joins in.
We'll go to our public hearing section. The first item on that is resolution 2020-22, final plat for Westlake Phase 2. I see on that we do have one item recommended for approval by the city engineer, Suzanne Dombrowski. This is the second review of this plat. The review is done for compliance with chapters 177 Florida statutes and the city of Westlake's codes and ordinances. All previous comments have been adequately addressed. The plat is now in compliance with chapters 177 Florida statutes and the city of Westlake's code and ordinances. We therefore recommend that the plat be approved for recording. Do we have any other comment from council regarding this item? Show no comment. Zoe, read by title, please.
Yes, sir. Resolution 2020-22, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Groves of Westlake, Phase 2, a subdivision in Section 7, Township 43 South, Range 41 East, City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, being a replat of Tract O, Groves of Westlake, Phase 2, Plat Book 130, pages 120 through 135 inclusive, Public Records of Palm Beach County, Florida, City of Westlake, Florida, providing for recordation and providing an effective date.
Okay. Do we have a motion for approval or disapproval?
I'll make a motion to approve 2020-22.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Roll call. Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item B. This is resolution 2020-23, amending the site plan for 711 1.0. We have from the city engineer recommended approval revised. The engineering department has the following comments. The site power plan and photometrics plan are not consistent with the site plan. The light pole be in conflict with other site elements. However, power and photometrics plans appear to be code compliant. Engineering department recommends approval with the condition that the tower and photometrics plan be revised to eliminate site conflict and while remaining compliant with the code requirements.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Yes. Mr. Mayor, this is Nilsa. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members.
Good evening.
Daniel, sir.
Yes, we have a very short presentation just to portray what are the key points of this site plan modification.
Go ahead, Nelson.
Okay, so this 711 1.0 is located, as seen on this slide, west of east of Seminole Pratt Whitney Road, right across the Seminole Ridge High School. This slide is showing that it's 1.89 acres and it's right east of the council chambers where you are located, and also, west of the council chamber and also west of the parking plant. So as you can see here, this is the future land use and the zoning. They are downtown mixed use, and it's also the zoning is mixed use. This is just to refresh all our memories. This was already approved by the City Council last year, June 17, 2019. At the time, the gas facility included a 4,500 square feet convenience store, a 16-position fueling station, and a car wash. That was approved last year. So right now, the application that is in front of you for your approval or consideration is basically the footprint of the building is the same, it's not increasing. It's 4,500 square feet. The proposed modifications are, the applicant is adding a taco food service. We call this is 10% of the store operation, and we call this is an accessory use to the main use. And no alcohol consumption is proposed. The second modification is the building facade, color, and materials. The applicant is proposing new colors and materials. That is part of your package. The applicant is also proposing an outside covered dining area. They are expanding the dumpster to include a grease trap, and there are minor changes on the landscaping. So this slide is showing how does it look, the proposed outside covered dining area. This is a very important slide. You can see in this slide what the council approved last year in 2019, the building elevation, and you can also see what is being proposed. There is that's the reason I like graphics. There is a drastic change with regard to colors and materials of the proposed new building elevation. As I'm sure you have seen the staff report, this is just part of the standard compliance with code, a table that is included on the staff report and all the required code and what is proposing the applicant. The subject application was reviewed for landscaping. There are no major changes. There are only some landscaping to accommodate the outdoor dumpster area. With regard to drainage also, there are some minor changes. All drainage and water management system will be owned and operated by SED. And then there are other specific notes from our city engineer. With regard to fire safety, the initial site plan that was approved last year was already reviewed by Mr. Pedro Segovia from Palm Beach County. The current site amendments are no proposed modifications that affect fire safety. Final remarks. Staff, your engineering department and your planning and zoning department are recommending approval with conditions. The engineering department is approval with the condition that the power and photometric plan be revised to eliminate site conflicts while remaining compliant with the code requirements. So Suzanne, she already provided you a letter with regard to this specific condition. And then the planning and zoning department is recommending that the applicant apply for a master sign plan. And why is that? Because with this site plan modification, the applicant included new signs. So that triggered one section of the code, which is the master sign plan. So later on, maybe next month in September, you will see a master site plan application that will be heard by council and will be approved by council. So all the signs that are part of this application all the signs that you can see on the drawings are not part of the application, such as, for example, this welcome sign that is not included on the subject application. That will be part of a master sign plan that will be in front of you for your review and approval next month. Thank you.
Thank you.
The landscape is not going to change much.
No, that's what it says.
Zoe, did you want me to make my presentation? There we
May
go.
we also have a presentation from the applicant? Before you begin, Mr. Herring, we also have Ms. Link on the line. Once we finish this item, can we permit her to please give her presentation?
Yes.
Thank you. Just a moment, Mr. Herring. I'll pass you the presenter rights. Mr. Herring, you may proceed.
Good. Well, thank you very much. And we'll be quick because I think we all rather listen to Wendy than myself. So we'll look forward to that. I'm here this evening on behalf of the owner of this site and the developer, Westlake Fueling LLC. Benoit, who is the president, is hopefully on the line here. I didn't look to see if he was on the list of attendees, but I believe that he is. As Nielsen pointed out, this is just a minor modification to the previously approved plan. So this plan was approved a little over a year ago, and it was purchased from 7-Eleven by Benoit and his team, who is really proposing a very forward-leaning design, which we think is very much so refreshing. I think staff will tell you the same. A little bit more modern, and this will very much so differentiate 7-Eleven 1.0 from the facility that's on the south side of Seminole Pratt Whitney. As Nielsen pointed out, the primary purpose is of the modification or the facade updates, but also the incorporation of a vendor, a food vendor, on the inside of the building. And what they've done on this facility is they've also added a covered terrace on the south side of the building, which will make that very much so a nice venue for people to be able to eat outside. And staff, of course, as you know, is recommending approval of this request. Nielsen showed us the location, so I won't bore you with it, but it's right out in front of your facility where some of you are meeting this evening. The site plan is very much so close to the original plan that was approved. There were some minor updates around the dumpster area to incorporate some expanded grease traps that are needed to support food service. And then on the kind of the south side of the building and a little bit wrapping along the west side is a covered terrace, which will provide for really just a nice outdoor venue. Otherwise, the site plan remained the same, the buffers remained the same, the canopy is the same, the drainage is the same, just really updates and enhancements to the architecture. So as Nielsa pointed out, this was the previously approved elevations, and it's a beautiful building, but it's also very much so fairly, similar to most 7-Elevens you might see. And what now being proposed is very unique and very forward-leaning. This is the front elevation, and you can see that it's just much more contemporary, very much so consistent with the flavor that has been established out in Westlake. So it's some large covered canopy areas. This is the covered trellis area or outdoor dining area, some large glass windows, and just more of a refreshing design. I've got a couple of the side elevations. So on the bottom of the screen, you can see the outdoor dining area. And on the top of the screen, this is the north elevation, which is just adjacent to the car wash. So just very, very refreshing, clean, forward-leaning lines as opposed to the same architecture that we often see. And I know staff is excited about that. So some of the materials that you can see, there's some metal composite panel that's utilized, some very interesting materials that are long-lived, but very refreshing with the whites and the light grays, which really is what we've seen moving forward. This is the floor plan. Floor plan remains relatively consistent. So you're aware the point of sale kind of happens together with the C-store operation as well as the food vendor service. So it's just an additional amenity that's added, much like what we see in most of our convenience stores moving forward. The inside of this facility also is a little bit more forward-leaning, so you can see some of the elements hanging from the roof, some of the trellis elements, really trying to, again, picking up on the same colors that you see outside brought to the inside. And so with that, and on behalf of 7-Eleven and our whole project team, we request your approval. As Nielsa pointed out, we will be back before you next month with the master signage plan, and look forward to starting construction as quickly as the city can issue permits.
Mr. Castle?
Don, I have one question. Do I recall this morning that you had revised the photometrics plan for the engineering department?
That is correct, and we have revised the photometric plan, and the city engineer reported during our meeting this morning that she was satisfied and that met all the criteria of the city.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because I knew we were wrapping things up and catching them up, and just want to make sure that that was in the record.
Thank you, sir.
One more comment, Mayor, if I may.
Yes,
The
please.
conditions of approval that you started reading into the record from Suzanne, they are part of the resolution. You have those from planning and zoning on the sign. Applicant did agree with those comments, as you said, he'll be back, as well as the photometrics. It will still be part of this packet, even though they have agreed and the engineer has agreed to accept what they presented to her. That's part of the resolution.
Well, just to keep you all up to date on the way, things change quickly for us.
Sure. Just one quick question. Was 1.0 the 7-Eleven that was getting like wine cellar, a special wine room?
Yeah, they've got a wine area.
Is that still in the plan?
I believe so. Don, that hasn't gone anywhere, has it?
I do not believe that it has. I don't think anything has changed. That's all the same and would be standard as a part of all 7-Elevens. Benoit, are you on the line? I don't see Benoit on the list, but there have been no other changes as to what the offerings are inside the store.
I'd like to say absolutely love the changes to the aesthetics of the 7-Eleven. I think it our city, out loud, but I am. And on that note, I'll make a motion to approve the power and with a recommendation to revise the power of the photometrics as well as the requirement to apply for the master site.
Mayor, before we have a second, Mayor, may I read the title into record, please?
Yes. Please.
Thank you. Resolution 2020-23, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, amending the site plan for 7-Eleven 1.0. This includes a gas station, car wash, and convenience store. The amendment includes a taco food service with outside dining area, an update to the building facade, and other site plan modifications located at 4670 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for implementation and providing an effective date.
Thank you. The motion, please.
Motion to approve 2020-23, the amendment to the site plan for 7-Eleven 1.0.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion made by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Roll call. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, Wendy Satori-Lane, Supervisor of Elections, is on. So I'd like to have her do her presentation at this time.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your allowing me to be here, and I look forward to answering questions that you might have. Wanted to just give you a quick update on where we are with the elections and what we're doing for those who wish to vote in person, especially with all the COVID precautions that people are concerned about. And I know a lot of your residents will fit into that category as well. So vote by mail has been very, very busy. We have sent out over 340,000 ballots already. And to date, I just pulled up, we have already received back 140,000 of those. So we have the most that I can think of that we've received at this point for sure for an August primary. To put it in perspective, in March, we received, by election day, we had received a total of 89,000. So we're at 140,000 already with about a week to go. So we're anticipating that will continue to be very busy. I think a combination of COVID being an issue, obviously a lot of the Democratic Party made a very big push for this. Recently, the president has come out and said that vote by mail in Florida is okay. So we saw increasing numbers with that. So I think that all kind of went into it, that plus prepaid postage making it easier on folks. So with that, like I said, and having 140,000 already back, we anticipate that continuing. A lot of people have asked me, well, with that kind of response, are you able to keep up, and are we going to have delayed election results? And the answer is no. We have been very aggressive with our opening and tabulation and canvassing schedule. So the canvassing board is meeting every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are having canvassing board members at the warehouse because they have to be there while we're opening and tabulating. So they have been there again every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and doing that in the public. And so we've been able to keep up. So as of now, everything that we've received, we have opened. It's being the tabulation is being completed right now for that. So on Monday before the election, we will have tabulated, run through the processing of the tabulation, everything that we've received through Monday night. Then on Tuesday, the only thing that we'll be processing will be the ballots we received on Tuesday. And of course, that's going to be a lot. We always have the most on election day, and people can turn them in until 7 o'clock. But obviously, those that are just getting turned into our main office at 7 are not going to be in those first set of results. But the first set of results that we release on Monday night, or Tuesday night, will include our early voting results as well as all of the vote by mail that has been received through Monday night. And then there could be some that we get on Tuesday morning included in that very first tally as well. The rest of it will come throughout the evening. And so we will continue until we have completed on Tuesday night all of our vote by mail. We do not have really official results though until Friday, because, or even the first set of unofficial results, because with the new statute, people who had signature cures are able to cure that up until Thursday at 5 o'clock. So Thursday at 5 o'clock, the canvassing board will meet again, except those that have been cured, and then those will run through the tabulation Thursday night. As far as early voting, we opened up a week ago, so we're a week into it. All 18 sites are going very, very well. We have no lines. The feedback we've gotten from the voters, we have a voter survey at every site. It's been very, very good, and keeping them very clean. Voters feel good about that. A couple things that we've done that you'll see on Election Day as well as during early voting, all of the poll workers have their temperatures taken with disposable thermometers before they begin work every day. They also fill out a COVID questionnaire. All poll workers will wear facial coverings. The voters, if they don't bring their own mask, we will provide a mask for them. Poll workers are also given gloves. If a voter prefers to wear a glove because they don't want to touch anything with their bare hand, they'll be able to do that. We'll give them a glove for that as well. We do have hand sanitizer there available, as well as disinfecting wipes to wipe down the polling booths after each voter. We've even laminated our secrecy sleeves so that the secrecy sleeves that they have to be reused can be wiped down easily before they're reused by anybody. We have plexiglass shields that will be between the voter and the poll worker to keep both safe. We also, when they go in and they use the pens to mark their ballots, they just keep the pens. They say, I voted on them, they'll just keep them so that we're not reusing and trying to wipe down pens. So I think we've certainly done everything the CDC has required. We do have the 6-foot distancing tape as well, marking that up all the way through the 150-foot mark. That'll be in English and in Spanish. So we've tried to make it very clean. Like I said, we've had no complaints about that so far. Voters have been very good about wearing their masks. We have a little campaign that we're doing saying, please show your appreciation to the poll workers because they're here during very difficult times. And we're asking the voters to thank them and be respectful of them, by please wearing a mask. You're only going to be in the polling location 5 minutes. Please wear your mask while you're in there to protect everybody else. So that's what we've got going there. Of course, early voting, we don't have any lines, so I would encourage anybody who wants to vote in person, now is the time to do it. We've had no lines at early voting, so this would be a really good time. It's open 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at 18 locations. So you can find them on our website. They're very convenient throughout the county. And but we do have a wait time indicator on our website, so you can look at early voting wait time lines. Say right now it'll show 0, but it'll be something that you'll remember is there in November when we will likely have lines. Also on our website at it's pbcelections.org, right on the first page, if you just scroll down, it's also going to show you voter turnout, which is really interesting for people. It shows total voter turnout. I can tell you right now we've had about 15% or 15.25% voter turnout at a total of 151,082 ballots cast. And that includes both vote by mail and early voting. Early voting is about 10,872. And so that changes. It's updated every 15 minutes, and you can do it by precinct, by party, by voting location. You can show it by a number of different ways. And so that we think the voters find that very interesting, and that'll continue through Election Day. On Election Day, it's really important that voters are looking at their voter information cards. We just sent out new voter information cards, and so that they're able to know which precinct they need to go to. On Election Day, they do need to go to their home precinct, and so that's very important. If their precinct has had to change, that's going to indicate that right on the front of the envelope, and it'll give them their new voter location. So We think everybody's ready. Of course, look, or Election Day being Tuesday, August 18th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we want people to bring their photo ID. If they can combine a couple of different types of photo ID. Their passports are fine, driver's license, state of Florida ID, military ID, student ID, homeowners association ID, debit cards if they have signatures. So anything, somehow we need to have a copy of your signature and a picture. And we can make some combination of things to get to that. If you don't have ID, you'll still be permitted to vote. It'll just be a provisional ballot so that it can go back to our office to check the signature on that, check all of the information on it. It'll go to the canvassing board, and the canvassing board then makes that determination. And if they accept it, then it goes on to be tabulated on Tuesday night. So with that, if there's just a quick update for you, if there's any questions, I am more than happy to answer them.
Do you have any questions from the council?
That was wonderful.
Yeah. I just want to thank you for the great job you're doing. It's been pretty thorough, it seems, and I think a lot of things are running very smoothly.
Well, great. Well, we're here to help, and if anybody has any questions, like I said, they can certainly go on. But the one other thing I'll let people know is on our website as well, or they can call us if they don't have access to the website, is they can track their vote by mail ballot. So if they go to just the web page and then go to the My Status section, they're going to be able to go right on, put in their name and their birth date. It'll take them to their page, allow them if they need to do an address update. This would be a good time to do it before they go to the polls. But they can also see when we sent out their vote by mail ballot, when it was returned to us, whether it's been processed, if it's been processed, whether or not there's been an issue with their signature that they need to address. And then once 7 o'clock comes on Election Day, it'll show that their vote was counted. So that's on there, and that's making people feel a little bit better since they're a little concerned about putting things in the mail. And also during this next week coming up through Sunday, people can turn in their vote by mail requests at the early voting sites. So during the early voting hours, we have a secured vote by mail pickup bag, and they can just take it right there and drop it in. So thank you so much.
What would be the closest early voting location to us?
Wellington Library.
Right.
I'm Mrs. Link. This is Vice Mayor Long Robinson. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Good. Can you kind of, for the secured lock boxes, can you kind of, because we have a couple of listeners on, can you kind of explain to them that it does say on the lock box, you know, it is being watched securely by surveillance camera? Can you go over that for some of those who want to just drop those ballots in the lockbox, please?
Sure. So if you're at an early voting site, it's actually going to be manned by a poll worker. So you don't have to stand in line. It's going to be a separate from the line, but it is going to be guarded by a poll worker, and the poll worker is with that bag the whole time. If you bring it to one of our outdoor location, which the only outdoor drop box that we have that's permanent is outside of our West Palm Beach location at Gun Club and Military, that is under 24-hour camera surveillance. So if you do drop in there, it's very secure. We take it out several times a day and bring it in, but it is also under 24-hour surveillance. Otherwise, if you're at the polling locations, it will be manned by a poll worker.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, there's no questions. I appreciate it. Make sure that you get out and vote, everybody. And I know November will get even busier, but you have some suggestions for us or anything that you might suggest that we do to make November even better, please make sure you let us know.
Very good. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, with that, we're going to move back on to our public hearing section, and we'll do C, Resolution 2020-24, amending the site plan for a resolution for 711 2.0, amended site plan. And do we have a presentation on that?
We do have a presentation, Mayor. If you give me a moment, I'll pull it up.
Okay.
You're ready.
Thank you, Zoe.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. This is Nilsa Zacharias, planning director of the city of Westlake. The application that is in front of you is for a site plan review amendment or modification. It's for 711 2.0, which is located west of Seminole Pratt Whitney Road, as shown on this slide. The specific site is 2.477 acres and is on the corner of Persimmon Boulevard West and Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. As shown on this slide, the entrance is from the north, Persimmon Boulevard West. This this subject application is located on the future land use, downtown mixed use, and the zoning is also mixed use. This specific application was approved last year, October 28, 2019, for the City Council, and at the time included a 4,500 square feet convenience store, a 16-position fueling station, and a car wash. The subject application is including, it does not modify the footprint of the building, which is still 4,500 square feet. But the modification includes the addition of a taco food service as an accessory use, since it's only 10% of the store operation. There is no alcohol consumption proposed on site. The dumpster was expanded to include a grease trap, and there are modifications on the site plan to accommodate the hardscape and sand movement on the sidewalk. So the next slide is showing a site plan, a floor plan that is indicating there will be a seating area and order queue line and the kitchen and server line that will accommodate the taco service. As you've seen on your staff report, this is the review from the Planning and Zoning Department with regard to the code. In terms of architecture, it's important to remark that the 2019 approved building colors and materials remains unchanged. So this was part of the main elevation that will be facing Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. With regard to landscaping, this parcel, it is included on the rural parkway and includes the existing rural parkway buffer that we see all along Seminole Pratt Whitney Road. And then the landscape has done minor changes to accommodate the new changes, such as the hardscape and also the dumpster area. With regard to the fire safety review, which is extremely important, this was reviewed already in 2019 by Mr. Pedro Segovia from Palm Beach County, and the amendments or modification does not affect this specific site requirements. Also, this is a review for drainage and is reviewed by the city engineer. The city engineer had some final approval comments, such as the layout here. Therefore, approval comments that is on the latest letter confirm if grease trap is required, where it will be located on the site. Number 2, connect car washing plumbing to sanitary sewer system. Number 3, revise application numbers, which has been done, and ensure the area calculation in the sidewalk and plazas are correct. So these are some of the comments included on the final letter. And then as Conclusion, the Planning and Zoning Department recommends approval. The application complies with applicable codes and requirements. So, thank you. If you have any questions.
I have a question regarding the drainage. What is this massive drainage? What does that look like? What exactly is that?
The drainage?
Yeah, because 7-Eleven had a problem with the drainage where eventually they would drain water on the property that's not actually there. So what does this massive drainage look like?
As part of your package, you can, if you want to scroll down and see as Mr. Castle is doing right now, he's looking at the engineering drawings. So
I can explain that too if you would like, Nielsen.
Yes, please.
Don, explain.
Good evening. For the record, Mr. Mayor and council members, Donaldson here tonight on behalf of Verdad Corporation, who is the developer on behalf of 7-Eleven. And so the drainage for this facility, of course, a master drainage permit has been granted for all of the Westlake project. And so it's a holistic drainage permit. And with each new development, there has to be a modification to the existing South Florida Water Management District permit, as well as the Seminole Improvement District, because Seminole Improvement District manages all of the drainage for Westlake. In this particular case, there is a temporary drainage area that will be located on the southwest side of the 7-Eleven that will tie into some of the existing SID canals that are there today that tie ultimately into the backbone that goes all the way out to State Road 80. And so those canals remain in place. They're maintained and managed by SID. It is anticipated that once we know how the overall parcel will develop, so this is really just the corner, very small corner of Pod H on the master plan. And so when we know what's going to be developed on the balance of that, it'll be incorporated into a master system for Pod H, and then ultimately with the discharge into the main north-south Seminole Improvement District canal. So city engineer has reviewed this and is approved it, as well as Seminole Improvement District. And it's my understanding that they've already received a South Florida Water Management District permit for the site. So all the drainage is appropriate and consistent with what's needed to maintain the site in a dry, drained condition.
So then you answer your question. Because I would have to see, I know they were infringing on other properties with the water. So I'm concerned, somebody else wants to buy that property, then there would be potential conflict.
There's no conflict. The SID, Seminole Improvement District, is ultimately responsible for all this drainage on all properties. Before another property comes in or somebody picks up the other property adjacent to it, SID will make sure that both properties have positive outfall through their system. And also whether there's on-site dry retention or temporary dry retention areas will be an issue that SID has to address. SID addresses the fact that the water coming off at the control point from that site will go into a SID system. However, that system is ultimately configured will meet all the appropriate parameters for water quality and runoff.
If I understand correctly, Ken and Don, there's going to be some kind of a temporary retention pond adjacent to the 7-Eleven.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, depending how the rest of the parcel gets developed, we're going to move that and drain it to wherever it has to go.
Turn it into wherever it needs to be.
So my question is, in the short term, aesthetically, what does a temporary retention pond look like?
It's just a low area. It's a dry retention area.
It'd be basically bahia grass and it'll only be wet when there's a storm event. So it's intended for water quality. So before you can discharge into SIDS canals, we're required to meet water quality standards. And so it really just slows the water down and then it drains out. And hopefully, Mr. Carter's out there finding buyers for the balance of the property. I know he's had a lot of action out there. So I wouldn't anticipate that it's going to be there for too many years.
Excellent. Thanks, guys.
I was just gonna say, retention areas and water quality can be met in a number of different ways. You can put baffles in systems, you can restrict flows, you can do a number of things. Your work on is to how to make sure the water coming off the site or ultimately into the SID system meets the water quality parameters and the volumes.
Is there an example of an existing temporary retention pond somewhere in Westlake I could take a look at?
Actually, there's a dry retention area that is behind Grove Marketplace.
Okay.
Hasn't been mowed in a while, but they get mowed. Depending on how deep they are. If they're fairly deep and they stay too wet, they're a little hard to mow, so you end up going in and knocking down with a vegetation type weed killer. Other than that, some of the shallower ones are mowed on a regular basis.
All right, great. Thanks, guys.
In fact, there's also one on the freestanding ER emergency room. In fact, and even on the fire station parcel. So we meet water quality on all the sites before we ultimately discharge.
Excellent. I'll check it out.
Our ER entrance off the fire station is on the behind the corner. It's landscaped and then it's kind of hidden
I'm
behind.
just looking for like a swale of grass or small.
Yeah, it's just a depression. The fire station is fairly deep. It's 4 or 5 feet deep. So it's a road landscape.
25 yard squares.
Something like that. Cool. I'll check it out. But each has that now. Ultimately, when we get into the development of the part in a downtown main district, those things may or may not be as noticeable. They may be underground water quality storage. They may be all kinds of different configurations. SID may do it as a precursor to the lake as it gets modified. So there's not one size fits all, but there are various things to make it happen. Cool.
Thanks for Drainage 101.
We have any other questions? Did Don have a presentation on this also?
Don, do you have a presentation? Do you want to do it, or do we?
You know, I do. I don't need to unless there's additional questions. I think as everyone is aware, really the only change that occurred here was the incorporation of the food vendor on the inside. So it resulted in a very minor change to the floor plan, no changes to the square footage, no changes to the architecture. We had to add some grease traps, minor modification to the dumpster area. But for that, those are the only changes that have occurred. So we look forward to your support this evening because I know that they're very anxious to start construction as soon as possible.
Don, do you have an elevation slide that you can just jump?
I do. If Zoe will give me the screen, I'm pretty sure I have a rendering of this in here somewhere. So I'll try to just zip through this pretty quickly. This is the site plan. So the site plan is, virtually unchanged from what we had before. So this is the rendering of that, which was previously approved. No changes at all. So this one is a little bit more contemporary on the contemporary side that picked up some of the elements that we have at the sales center. So very, very nice facility, very well landscaped. I don't know if I have any. Here's another picture from another vantage. So here we try to pick up some of the things that we were doing at other areas at Westlake and still maintain the 7-Eleven brand. So I think what you'll see here is that there is a very distinctive difference with what's happening on the east side than the west side, which really will set these two apart. So we were very excited with the changes that were there. So
Excellent. Thanks, Don.
You're very welcome, sir.
we have any other questions? Zoe, can you read by title, please?
Yes. Resolution 2020-24, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, amending the site plan for 7-Eleven 2.0, which includes a gas station, car wash, and a 4,500 square foot convenience store. The amendment includes a taco food service and other site plan modifications located at 4965 Seminole Pratt Whitney Road in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for implementation and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Make a motion.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2020-24, the approval for amended site plan 7-Eleven 2.0.
Second.
We'll get there.
I have a motion made by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Roll call. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes, yes. Can you hear me? Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to move on to item D, resolution 2020-25, approving final plat for Persimmon Boulevard East, Plat 4. Okay, on this one, do we have any questions, comments from council regarding 2020-25?
Mayor, we do have an applicant presentation.
Oh, terrific, thank you.
And I'll be fairly quick with this. You've seen a number of the plats. As soon as Zoe gives me control, I will start. Mr. Mayor and Council, this is the extension of Persimmon Boulevard East, east of Plot O, which you just approved the second phase, Plot 2 of Plot O, extending easterly to serve Parcel T, which will be known as the Estates of Westlake. So we anticipate presenting the plat for the Estates of Westlake to you at your regular meeting in September. So this plat extends the roadway further to the east, just so that we can get to the eastern end of what we refer to as Parcel T on the master plan. There is some road easements that are to be dedicated to Seminole Improvement District, as well as to the city. And the utility easements are all being dedicated to SID. Here's on the screen is that little section. So we're just extending from the eastern boundary of Parcel O to the eastern boundary of what we refer to as Pod T, or the Estates of Westlake, which you will see next month. And so this is just to facilitate the continued extension. Ultimately, as the council is aware, Persimmon will extend all the way out to 140th and then continuing on all the way to State Road 7, as it is a major county arterial. Plat is, of course, is a requirement of the Florida statutes for the subdivision of land and a requirement of the city. And your city engineer, as well as Seminole Improvement District and city attorney, and Seminole Improvement District attorneys have all confirmed that this plat is consistent with the Florida statutes. The plats are fairly benign, but that's generally what they look like. So this is a fairly short plat, not going that far. And so with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have and respectfully request your approval tonight.
I have a comment. Would it be appropriate to get a copy in our packet from some improvement district with their approval so that we can see that when we have this before us?
We can add that going forward to the packet, yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to see that. It has, verbally, it's nice to hear it, but I'd like to see it in the packet when we receive it.
I have a quick question. Are there, any recommendations from staff regarding conditions for approval for this plat? Anything from engineering or?
Yeah, we do have it right here. It says that the engineering department has reviewed the plans and staff recommends approval for this plat.
Excellent. No conditions?
No conditions on this one.
Excellent.
Do you have any other questions regarding this resolution? If we have no further questions, could we have a motion, please?
We need to read
Mayor,
that.
I'm sorry, may I read the title? Thank you. Resolution 2020-25, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, approving the final plat for Persimmon Boulevard East, Plat 4, being a portion of Section 7, Township 43 South, Range 41 East in the City of Westlake, Palm Beach County, Florida, providing for recordation, providing for an effective date.
Motion to approve resolution 2020-25, final plat for Persimmon Boulevard East, Plat 4.
We have a second for approval.
I second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Roll call. Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move on to item E, ordinance 2020-09, amending ordinance 2016-303, which established the Planning and Zoning Board by changing the composition of the board. This is the first reading. Does anyone on the council have questions regarding this item? And, well, I think we should go through the strike-throughs and the why these changes were made. Would you do that?
Sure. Mayor, Council, at one of our prior meetings, there was a request to add an alternate to the Planning and Zoning Board. So that's what's before you. Section 2 of the prior ordinance composition of the Planning and Zoning Board states the City of Westlake shall select a resident from the City of Westlake to serve as an alternate in the event a board member is unable to attend the Planning and Zoning Board member. There shall be one non-voting member from the School Board of Palm Beach County. The school board has always been invited to the meetings. Thus far, they have not sent any representatives to attend those meetings, but that was added as a clarification. It's under the Florida statute anyway. And so that's the language to add that alternate member to the Planning and Zoning Board. Section 5 clarifies the quorum. Again, these are practices that we've utilized, but I went ahead and added this language to codify it, that the meeting shall not be called to order without a quorum consisting of at least 3 members, which may include the alternate as well as the city attorney being present. Your Chapter 2 that we adopted last year requires the presence of the city attorney, as well as due to those items being quasi-judicial items, you want to have legal counsel present. When a quorum does not exist, the members present may convene the meeting for purposes of continuing a public hearing, holding a workshop, or scheduling a special meeting. So those were the changes to Section 5. Again, under business meetings and procedures, Section 2, stating the time of those meetings and adding that they'll be duly noticed by the city clerk. Again, we're obligated to do that anyway, making it more consistent with some of the language we had in Chapter 2, which was adopted last year as well. It gives the location of the meeting I added or other locations as designated by the city manager. We get a city hall, our locations change. You have this in here without the need to come back and amend this ordinance to say where those meetings will be. And those are the changes that are before you tonight for consideration.
Thank you. One of the,
Sorry, go ahead.
Pam, is the one strikeout, we changed the transitional
Yes.
members of the city council to members of the city council, so that is a strikeout. We made,
Yes.
made a change on that. The other thing, the advantage of having the different locations is, whether we have a city hall or not, if we have something that's going on that we know is gonna generate a number of people, we may have to find another venue in order to have enough people, with enough space to have it, so this gives us that flexibility. And I appreciate the fact that we have that flexibility, because we never know what's gonna happen, right?
If I could add, Council, and Mayor Manning, if you recall, the root of this started from, one of our meetings where we had residents willing and ready to serve on our planning and zoning board. And it was at that meeting that I made the recommendation that we start rotating, council members off, as well as some others, so that we could give opportunity for actual residents of Westlake to start making decisions. So that was the root of this, and I thank staff for moving forward with starting to make the adjustment so that Westlake residents are able to serve and have input of the makeup of the city.
Thank you. Do you have any further comments, questions?
Just a question, will that person, is that person subject to the sunshine law?
Yes, absolutely, they will be.
And anyone serving on any committee associated with the city is subject to sunshine.
Just wanted to, for the record.
Thank you. If we have no further questions, Zoe, could you read ordinance 2020-09, please?
Yes, first reading of ordinance 2020-09, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, amending ordinance 2016-3, which established the Planning and Zoning Board by changing the composition of the board to include a resident to serve as an alternate board member, clarifying the requirements for a quorum, providing for codification, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, and providing an effective date.
You have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 2020-09.
I'll second.
Thank you. I have a motion made by Councilman Patrick Paul, seconded by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson. Roll call. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Okay, we move on to item F, ordinance 2020-10, an ordinance amending the composition of the Education and Youth Advisory Board. This is a first reading. If we could go over the strikeouts on here, please.
Mayor, Council, again, at your last meeting, workshop, you went over the applicants for the Education and Youth Advisory Board. Since there was a long list of residents with very impressive applications to apply, the council decided to increase the board members from 3 to 5. So what you see on the first page, again, under composition, appointments, terms, and vacancies, is it has been changed from 3 to 5 regular members to serve on the Education and Youth Advisory Board, and that's your change on here. It's just changing the number to 5. So at our next meeting, when this comes back to second reading, you can go through the appointment of those members as well as the alternate to the Education and Youth Advisory Board. And again, as Vice Mayor Long Robinson said, this was through some of the residents wanting to be involved and engaged with the city of Westlake.
Thank you. and it is I'm very excited to see the number of people that responded to this, and the resumes and interviews were very impressive. Vice Mayor?
Yes, sir. I'm waiting on Zoe. I'll make the motion. I'm just waiting on Zoe.
Okay, so if we have no further questions or comments, that we have ordinance 2020-10, Zoe, by title.
Yes. First reading, ordinance 2020-10, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, amending the composition of the Education and Youth Advisory Board, providing for conflicts clause, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing an effective date.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion that we move forward with the ordinance 2020-10, amending the composition of the Education, Youth, and Advisory Board.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Motion made by Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson, seconded by Councilman John Paul O'Connor. Roll call vote. Councilman Patrick Paul.
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. And Vice Mayor, I'd like to thank you for your efforts on this and staff putting this together.
Thank you, Council. I think this is perfect, especially with us going into a virtual education mode. So I know that the persons that we selected will be beneficial to our Western community. So thank you for supporting this.
Sure. Okay, so we'll move on to new business. Item A, Resolution 2020-21, providing notice of intent to the Federal Insurance Administrator. Would you like to speak on this at all? Okay.
Yes, Mayor. We had originally put forth another ordinance that came back. The FEMA came back and said we need to tweak it. We tweaked it, but then they came back and said we need to tweak it again. So this is a correction of the tweak, and it also covers the basis for us as part of the NFIP program. Again, Similar Improvement District handles, it's a hand-in-glove situation between SID and the city on NFIP and conformancy and stuff like that and compliance. So we're working diligently to make sure it's all working together. And we did get, as you know, we got the first FEMA replat or update of the firm for hammocks. Groves is on, or Meadows is on the way. So is Sky Cove and Crestwood. So they're working them down through the cycle. So they're coming through cycles. It takes a certain amount of time for each one of them, but they're all coming through. And we're at the higher than normal flood range, et cetera. So we're in good shape.
So that's more determined by elevation and by drainage?
It's all considered. It's elevation, it's drainage, it's lakes, it's the whole water modeling is done. One of the things that they requested SID to do is to go back and model the site prior to with the ditches as they were before, the flows, et cetera, and model before and after and all the control points, et cetera. So that's why one of the reasons it took so long to get hammocks done is we had to go back and recreate on SID's side a number of things that had already been removed. So how do you go measure what's already been removed and modified? So it was a long process for the engineers to convince the flood management group in Region 4 what was there, and the flood maps and the charts all flow out. And there's also one of the items that the SID engineers handle is they have a master drainage program that looks at every piece of development that goes on within the city as to make sure that it complies with our flowage that we can flood.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
NFIP, for the record?
National Flood Insurance Program.
Insurance Program, got it.
And one of the reasons that it's critical is with the new flood maps, where you used to be in quoted flood zone, so your rates were higher. The fact that your finished floor is actually a foot above the required base flood elevation, your rates should go down considerably. And then also tied into that is what they call the community rating system, which means how well the city or its entity that handles flood control manages the stormwater, cleans the inlets, et cetera, et cetera. So then you also get points that helps reduce your premiums even more. So the less likelihood you are to flood, the lower your premiums are as a homeowner, the better off everybody is.
Wonderful. What do you think the ETA is on, Meadows?
I don't recall off the top of my head. I know I saw some back and forth with them. I know it's nearing closer to the final stages, but we've
Inside
had
of 90 days?
maybe 90
6 months?
days, maybe 6 months.
Yeah.
But they're constantly working it, and Simmons and White is constantly pushing on it. I see copies of emails back and forth with them to push it, but they've got the other 3 in the pipeline right after each other. And I'm sure they're already working on Groves and T as well, and M2 and N.
Let me ask, I don't know if this question, if you can answer this question, but, regarding insurance, if you qualify and you've already paid your insurance for the year, will it go back retroactive? You get a rebate on the insurance maybe?
I don't believe so.
No?
I can actually answer that question.
Yeah.
It's only because we got a letter from the mortgage broker. I don't know if it's going back retroactively, but I will tell you that if you had funds in escrow from when you closed, they'll give those back. So, good news. And, I recommend everybody keep the flood protection, just take the lower premium.
Yeah.
Better have it than not.
Absolutely.
And from personal experience back with Andrew and other storms, a lot of the insurance carriers considered rain as rising water, a flood, versus actual flood rising. So they disallowed some of the homeowners' claims because they actually said it was by flood. The fact that your window was broken, the rain was running in, they still called it rising water in the house. So there's a lot of nuances to the insurance, having lived through Andrew and center wall of the eye down there and stuff like that. There was a lot of nuances that nobody understood till you go through it and you realize that, you know what, if your premium is cut down quite a bit, keep it in place just in case, because your insurance doesn't, they say it's rising water, you go for the rising water, consider the flood. It's a backup.
Excellent.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions, comments regarding this item? If not, could read by title, please.
Yes, Resolution 2020-21, a resolution of the City Council for the City of Westlake, Florida, providing a notice of intent to the Federal Insurance Administrator that the City of Westlake will implement and enforce provisions consistent with the National Flood Insurance Program regulations and providing an effective date.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2020-21.
I'll second.
We have a motion made by Councilman John Paul O'Connor, seconded by Councilman Patrick Paul. Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson,
Yes.
Mayor Roger Manning,
Yes.
Councilman Patrick Paul,
Yes.
Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to city council comments. Councilman John Paul O'Connor.
Okay. Just a couple questions on where we are with a couple things. One being the generators that we went over a couple of meetings ago.
Nielsa in building department has sent me a draft. I got it Thursday afternoon, looking back through it, and then we'll present it through the legal for legal sufficiency, and we bring it back to you as soon as we can.
Excellent. Secondly, I'd really like to start attacking the traffic and speeding issues in the annex, but I'm not even gonna touch that until we have an ordinance protecting my golf carts. So, I know you guys are working on it, and if we could, move that forward, that would be awesome.
Actually, legal sent me I think first or second draft of one of the golf cart ordinances we were looking at, working on, so no, it's not on the back burner, it hasn't fallen off the shelf.
Very cool. And with that, again, thank you, staff, thank the entire council, Mr. Mayor, for your leadership, and our virtual council members as well. Thank you, everyone.
Councilman Patrick Paul.
Don't have anything today, really.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Katrina Long Robinson.
No comments?
And myself. I'd just like to thank everybody for working hard and keeping us on track here. I know it's fast and furious out here, the way things are growing and things coming at you. So thanks a lot. We need the tax dollars, so keep on keeping on like you're doing. Thank you. Staff reports. City Attorney.
As Ken mentioned, we're in process with the golf course ordinance, so we get some feedback on that. Hopefully we can get that on your September agenda, and we keep working through all the other things as they come forward.
City Manager.
A couple of things. One of the things we're gonna do is we're gonna reorganize the format on, as we discussed, Mr. Mayor, on the approvals. We're gonna change the, first, the agenda page. We'll have, in the beginning of it, it'll have a recommendation versus what we have now. We're gonna change it, put the recommendation there. We're also gonna change the staff report to have the recommendations and any conditions up front. So it's easy for you all to look at it, scan it, go through it, and then look at the backup if you have questions. I think it'll help facilitate not only your understanding of the items and stuff, but also in the process when we're looking at it, because it'll be staff recommendations. It'll be basically almost the motion, motion. And then the why, and then that way it can facilitate the whole process for everybody.
Or even if we could get it on the cover sheet, like, we
Yeah.
have a spot that says staff
Yeah,
recommendations,
it's-
but everyone says approved, denied,
Right, that's what we're
approved with
changing.
conditions.
Right.
That's where it's gonna go there, and then basically back up summary, in the summary, we're gonna give that a little bit definition on that. And then when you actually get to the staff report, the first part of the staff report will be the recommendations. We'll have recommendation with approval, with conditions, without conditions, or denial. And it'll have not only P&Z, but engineering at the same time. So that up front, real quick, you can read it as a summary, get where staff is coming from and the recommendations from where we are. And then if you want to dig deeper, you can, and then you can ask questions.
And then if we can add external improvement districts
Yeah.
include,
We'll include that recommendation.
include that in also, that way it's clean going into it.
Absolutely. I think it'll help facilitate as we're going forward. And actually, I was thinking about it after you mentioned that, it's gonna make it a whole lot easier when we go back looking for it.
Right.
So, that's the first item. Second item is, had a meeting with the county today, as a follow-up. I'll characterize it as a much better and progressive meeting than we've had in the past with them. I think we have some options. We have 2 or 3 options that we're looking at, both from the county's perspective, from the city's perspective, from the landowner's perspective, and from Sid's perspective as to how we can figure out which parcel is going to work best for them, or what may or may not work.
And we're speaking about the fuel station right now.
A combination, fuel station, C2, and or the bottom half of PC2. So we're looking at all 3 locations to figure out what the configuration is going to be best to fit for everybody's needs. So we have some discussions to do with the property owner, as well as with Sid, and then we'll go back and talk to the county again. But it was a very productive meeting today. I was very impressed.
I hear that.
Has there been any movement on 40th or
The only thing I can say is I got an email earlier today showing some comments and stuff out of the whatever,
Westlake speaks.
Westlake Speaks or Acreage Speaks or whatever. All I can say right now is the Indian Trails responded. Civil Improvement District is preparing a response to their response. Then it continues in the attorney to attorney in the legal. They have not tried to actually physically stop anything at this point in time, because that elevates it to another level of issues.
Not knowing how the legal system works, how long can this be tied up and be up in the air?
Right now, we're posted in a limited hearings. This could go on for quite some time. Yes, Indian Trails did provide a response. They provided an answer, multiple affirmative defenses. Looks like 18 or 20 affirmative defenses they provided, as well as some counterclaims. So they filed one suit asking for declaratory judgment as well to the right between both parties. It's quite an extensive answer. Not surprisingly, now SID has a time frame in which they respond to that lawsuit, and so this will go on until the parties are able to get a hearing before the judge and try to sort through some of these issues and what rights the parties have. Indian Trail made some allegations about them sitting down and going through the Chapter 164 dispute resolution process. So the court could force the parties to come back and talk and try to settle this out before continuing litigation. So there's multiple options based on where they are right now in the litigation. So they'll continue to take its course right now with pleading, which is just drafting from both attorneys until they can get before a judge and get some of the items sorted out.
Okay.
Not a fast process.
Guess not.
Couple other things, as I reported to you all, we did have a pre-meeting with Publix. They're proceeding to move forward as far as I know. Expect something probably for a plat in the November, December timeframe. And they had indicated they want to get started on construction the first quarter of next year.
This is for the public. Can you just explain where they are proposing?
Okay, they're proposing approximately 20 acres. It's located north of Persimmon and south of Town Center Parkway South on the west side of Seminole Pratt Whitney, which is basically just across the street from the fire station and the Grove Marketplace now, but on the west side behind the burn. It's, I want to say 48 or 50,000 square foot Publix, and then there's 5 or 6 other commercial storefronts that are part of the main area. Then there's, I believe, 4 potential out parcels for standalone restaurants, banks, whatever happens to be there that Publix is looking at. And then there's still a large section on the north half of that acreage that they haven't identified what's going in there yet. But it is, the entire land is owned by Publix, will remain to Publix. They will do long-term land leases for the out parcels. That was a question that was asked in the pre-meeting as well.
Is that a done deal? Land is purchased?
I don't think it's been closed on yet, but I think they're in their due diligence period. And they were checking with the city as to how long it takes us to process, what are we looking at, what hoops do they have to jump through. I think we made a good case for them that they can be processing their plat, their site plan, and their building department stuff almost simultaneously, so that once they get their plat and site plan approved, if they've got their building permits and stuff, plans already looked at and approved, they can get moving immediately. So we push that fact that we can move them quickly.
While we're on that topic, changing gears for a moment to 7-Eleven 1.0, which I'm very excited about. I guess we're just waiting to issue them permits at this point.
So they're doing site work.
So that being said, when are they anticipated to be?
I don't know their construction schedule. They've been delayed a little bit for rain, but I know they've got the pad, they're working on the pad, they're working on the site work now.
Less than a year,
I'd say 6, 7 months,
6, 7 months.
and they should be up and operating.
That's,
Their intent was to try to get up sooner than that, but we'll see. We'll see how fast they actually get pushing.
very cool.
I'm actually a student.
Yeah. The car wash.
The car wash. One other item is, as I reported in the past and also in my coffee with the manager, Seminole Improvement District is still in the process, will soon be beginning the culvert crossing at the south end, just north of Sycamore, replacing the culvert that goes across Seminole Prattwood Road. The culvert that's there is too small for the flows. So again, as stated before, they're always looking at how to make the flows, how to make everything work. And they decided that they had to put in 2 6x6 box culverts to accommodate the flow properly. So that'll be going through. That's a $7 million project.
Will that affect traffic or?
There'll be
What does it look like in real life?
There'll be traffic lane switches similar to what occurred for the intersection at Water's Edge. Same type of thing. They'll be, they're going to be working. My understanding right now, their work progress plan will be coming from the west to the east. So they'll be doing the west first and then transfer traffic over. They're trying to get that underway as soon as possible. And that's all I have at this point in time.
Thank you, sir. That leaves us with public comments, agenda items only. This section of the agenda allows for comments from the public to speak on items only presented on the agenda. Each speaker will be given a total of 3 minutes to comment. A public comment card should be completed and returned to the city clerk.
Mayor, I received no comment cards prior to the meeting for this section. However, we'll give the audience a moment to raise their virtual hand.
Hi, Zoe. I have a comment.
Thank you. Please state your name and address.
My name is Alicia Torres. My address is 5847 Whippoorwill Circle.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say that I'm feeling a little bit disheartened about the direction this brand new city in 2020 is going as far as commercial goes. I know things are very early right now, but what we have on the board is a Publix and 2 7-Elevens. And I'm just feeling like this is the beginning of a city that could have been built anywhere in Florida since 1950, possibly earlier, given whenever these chains were established. I'm hoping that we can still attract high quality businesses. You know, I'm thinking a nice seafood restaurant, a pub, you know, with shuffleboard table, a coffee house to hang out in, not just a Dunkin' or a Starbucks. And I'm not really sure if starting off on this foot can attract that kind of business. So I kind of feel like we're just flying with no destination. So I wonder, does the city have a vision? Has that vision changed, if there ever was one kind of from the get-go? And if there is a vision, what is it for this city? I just imagined there'd be a lot of tech stuff. You know, it's 2020 after all. That it would actually be an innovative, unique new city. So I'm just wondering if that still could possibly happen. Thank you.
Mr. Castle, I think you could explain that the best. Mr. Carter, if he was here, would certainly be able to, because this has come out before. This is not the first time.
No, I understand. And one of the things about different types of businesses, as I've explained from the get-go, is it's a combination of which business will come for rooftops, which one has to be there. But as you already look at what we pulled in, you know, got the new fire station, got the UHS, which is going to be a medical complex. You've got the ISTF that's still on the thing coming in, which is different. you have the solar farm, you know, tax collectors coming in, we have the other county facilities coming in. I know it's not at this point in time of, attracting certain types of businesses per se, but right now, most of those type businesses that the store has referred to require a storefront or something to be there. There are none. All of the ones at the marketplace are either full or, you know, whatever. Couple, I think there's one or two that might be vacant, but until you have a storefront area that can support some of those coffee house type small, they're not standalone facilities. As a major landowner, they're not going to sell an acre and a half acre, et cetera, for small standalone developments. They're going to be selling a parcel with a 20 acre that has out parcels. Do I expect that type of stuff to come in on the Publix parcel? Sure. I expect that once Publix actually puts their name on it out there that they're building, I would probably say that they probably have 15 or 20 people knocking on the doors for their spots.
Yeah, very attractive.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
So do I expect those kind of businesses to be knocking on their door in a heartbeat? Absolutely. Do I expect them to maybe have a seafood restaurant, maybe another kind of restaurant, maybe another kind of, maybe not have? Sure. It wouldn't surprise me in the least. But again, that's the market conditions. That the only way the city can impact that is if we are willing to give quote, tax incentives, et cetera, which we can't
At this
afford.
point, we can't.
You know, older, more mature cities do that to get some development. But again, the resident ends up picking up the tab for that tax incentive to have somebody show up. So again, it's where that balance is. So I think the market will drive it. I think as we start going, the market is starting to come with like others. I think we're going to have an improved situation. If the Grove Marketplace ends up doing something innovative or renovating, that scenario would also help, bringing potentially other businesses in. But right now, they haven't done anything. I can't help them.
I know from my conversations with Mr. Carter, they would love to sell out the commercial part of this development in order to have more businesses in here. But as Mr. Castle explained, all the developers commercially are looking for rooftops, more rooftops in order to make their investment profitable. So they're going to follow. I think that Publix is going to give the go-ahead for a lot of other businesses or developers to come in and look at this commercial property and say, now we have rooftops, now we have other businesses in the city, then I think it's going to pique the interest of the commercial development.
The other component is daytime population.
Right.
So as Publix is here, you've got employees, you've got daytime people. As the hospital starts to expand, putting in, you've got daytime people. Tax collector brings in daytime population. Okay. As that daytime population comes in, that triggers the other restaurants, that triggers the other type of vendors that are going, hey, there's enough daytime population there for me to not only have business between 6 and 9 o'clock at night, to allow me to have business from 8 a.m. in the morning at 9 o'clock at night. So I think those kind of parameters, which is difficult to understand sometimes, but it's one of those tricky things in the market that all the pieces just kind of have to fall into place. And if you push one or try one, it may or may not work.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Castle, this is Nilsa. I just want to answer to Mrs. Torres with regard to the vision. I wanted to refresh our memories that in 2017, when we were working on the comprehensive plan, we went through a long exercise to establish the vision for the city of Westlake. And I can assure everyone that it was not like any other city. It's an extremely special city. It's a vibrant and inclusive city. So we have done a workshop with council in 2017. We have put together a very important PowerPoint showing the different districts, showing what is the vision for the town center, what is the vision for the corridor, our mixed use and vibrant corridor, Seminole, Pratt, Whitney Road. Perhaps we can share all that information later on another, maybe on another meeting to go through what is the vision. We have a comprehensive plan. We have a zoning map and a land use map that extremely reflects all the vision that was workshopped quite a bit in 2017. And this is and is planned to be a vibrant city. And one of the main goals is to protect the neighborhoods. At the same time, to foster an employment center, to foster dynamic restaurants and a city center. So all that information is already prepared and is part of the comprehensive plan, and we do have documents and PowerPoints to reflect that.
Yes, the plan should be on our website.
Yes,
And if you go to the website and put it in, you should be able to find that in 2017.
Mr. Castle, if I could make a recommendation. As Nilsa said, we went through an extensive workshop. And if we recall, when we went through that workshop, we had not gone through COVID. Data is showing that COVID will have an impact on businesses. I believe here in Palm Beach County, it is saying 40% of our businesses will be impacted closing. I do know that I, for one, for full transparency, have been speaking to the owner of the regional restaurant in City Place, and she was excited and eager to come to Westlake pre-COVID. However, you know, I think we got to be a little patient as it relates to some of our commercial at this point, because we are literally going through a pandemic, and it's an unforeseen time for business owners and investors to take a leap at this time. So I know that it is going to come. We just got to be a little patient. Just get through a few more months now and be a little patient. But that is true, Nilsa. You did a dynamic job. And like I say, though, that was pre-COVID. So we know that life is going to change, and we've been looking at data that is reflective of that.
I just would like, this is Alicia Torres again. I'd like to say thank you for the reassurance. I have seen a lot of those slides, and it does look very cool, and that's part of why I bought here. I just want to make sure that we didn't kind of throw all of that in the wastebasket and kind of move into a COVID, you know, whatever is necessary, whatever we can get kind of plan here. All of that being said, I just wanted to point out that the two 7-Elevens are going to have tacos. Well, the Espresso gas station already has tacos. So I worry that the 7-Elevens aren't talking to each other, and maybe they aren't doing the proper research in the area, because we're going to have 3 taco places within, you know, a half-a-mile radius. So that was my last comment. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sure at the September meeting, I can probably get Mr. Carter to present a update on where they are on commercial.
Yeah.
And I'll make sure I reach out to him, and he has a presentation ready as an update for all of this.
Thank you.
I'll just make the very quick point, and kind of to expound on what the Vice Mayor was saying, is that, you know, us being during COVID right now, to have a downtown at the Gardens type development come in, or an Alton, these guys, nobody's paying their rent right now. These little boutiques and these pubs, they don't have any business. They're not paying their rent. A developer like that is gonna be extremely concerned in the climate that we're in today before making a massive investment, because then you're gonna have a bunch of empty stores. So I mean, I just think it's important that we do it wise, and we have to be able to attract, you know, these wonderful businesses, but at the same time, they have to want to come. And we're in no position to incentivize, at least right now.
I must say that I am very anxious to have commercial property bought here and then to start paying taxes, because that's crucial to our tax base over the next few years, to build that up very quickly in order to balance our budget without the developer contribution. So I'm just as anxious about that as you are, Mrs. Torres. We need that commercial development in order to cover our taxes, our expenses, I should say, not our taxes, our expenses. So
And we need viable, buildings that are then not
right, correct.
paying taxes in foreclosure, et cetera, et cetera. So good, viable, strong based information is what we need to continue to look for.
With the daytime traffic and with all the new homes, it will get to a point where great franchises won't be able to ignore that.
Right.
And will want to desperately come here, because this will be the place to be.
And I want to comment also, the residential sales here at Westlake between Crestwinds, Minto Development, and Sky Cove, the sales out here are fantastic. The point is right. Everything has kind of fallen into place for the residential, and of course the next step will be hopefully the commercial property will take up and do just as well as the residential sales. Thank you. Do we have any other public comment?
I'll give the audience a moment to raise their virtual hand if there's any additional comments. If you have any additional comments, please raise your virtual hand, state your name and your address, please. If you're unable to raise your virtual hand, please unmute yourself and please state your name and address. Mayor, I see no additional comments.
Very good. Thank you. I'd like to thank everyone for attending the meeting, and we're going to adjourn at 8:22 p.m. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Good evening.
Bye.
All that talk. Anthony.